Today I'm at Orms Printroom and we're going to be discussing printing and how do you send your images, how do you frame your images, and we're with image and framing consultant Sancia. Sancia, I've never printed before. I want to print my image. I've taken this beautiful image of Table Mountain or beautiful lion and Kruger. How do I go about it? I don't want to just do a cheap print. I want to print this nicely. I want to frame it. I want to put it up in my house. What is the process? How do I get in touch with you? Do I just walk in the door? What do we do?
Okay, so first the best way would be to book an appointment with a consultant. You can either do that via emailing printroom@orms.co.za, you can call us, but the best and most effective way is to book an appointment online on our website.
So I've captured my file now on my raw file. I've done a little bit of an edit to it. I sort of like the file where it's at. How do I send that file to you? What's the file format and resolution? Talk us a little bit through that process.
Okay, so if you're not able to come into the store, you can send it to us via WeTransfer. That way we don't compress in the image. Always in PSD format or TIFF, 300 DPI always. And then we normally want you to do the editing yourself, but we will gladly edit for you as well.
Okay, and file resolution size in terms of how big I can print on my file, any idea on that, or do we just send it to you and then you advise us on that?
Yeah, it would be best to send it to us because our screens are set up to view at print size, and then we can basically crop it to the size that you want and view it at print size and make sure that the image can accommodate the size that you're wanting to print.
Okay, perfect. I had a few questions. I put up a little bit of a poll before about questions guys had on printing, and one of the main questions I got was color discrepancy. Someone said, well, my colors on my screen look warmer, and then when I go into a print it looks cooler, or the colors look different. How do we correct for that when we're printing?
Okay, so every screen is different, and you can't calibrate it to the printers we have, as we have more than 4 or 5 printers actually. So again, we open the file, we prep it to the size, we select a paper, and then we run a test print without any editing, any adjustments on our side, and then we compare it to what we're seeing on our screen to what we're receiving on the actual paper, and we make adjustments from there. So it's always best to run a test print first.
Give us an idea, Sancia, of how long the whole process takes from when we have a meeting with you to almost when we've printed the file at the end of the day.
Okay, so test prints normally take about 3 working days depending on the paper and as well as production. Sometimes it's 2 to 3 working days. If there aren't any adjustments that are needed and you're happy with the test print, printing takes about 3 working days, again depending on production. And then once the print is complete, you've signed it, it goes into the framing, if you're going to do framing, factory, and that takes about 10 working days.
Yeah, so in my personal experience, it takes about 2 weeks from start to finish. That's with the test prints, coming in and checking the test prints, making sure they're happy, maybe tweaking a few things and then doing another test print. And that's the great thing about test prints. Do I have to pay extra for the test prints?
Test prints are 100 Rand, which gets deducted from the final print run if you go ahead on that paper. But I mean, most of the time we do the adjustments, it's spot on, and you don't actually pay because it gets deducted.
Yeah, so perfect. Great to do the test print. So if you have any worries about colors being off or your image being too dark or not sharp, test prints are the way to go. We can see exactly what it looks like. In terms of paper, do we get variation in colors coming in with paper choices?
Yes, each paper has its own unique texture, paper tone, and thickness. So again, this is why we view the image, and then by looking at the artwork, the print consultants can normally recommend the best paper that would complement the artwork. But if we aren't sure, because most of your images can work on various paper types, we then run the test prints on 1 or 2 paper types.
Okay, so Orms has a wide selection of papers we can choose from. They have 8 fine art papers that are highly recommended, and we've selected from like 4 that we think will work really well. for doing fine art prints, and I'll discuss which are my favorites as well. But Sancia, tell us a little bit about the paper choices that we have.
Okay, so what I've done is I've selected the 4 paper options that work with your images, specifically this one. So we have the True Fiber, which is the most cost effective in the fine art range. Using the Giclée printing process, which is literally the French word to spray. So the ink is on the surface, it doesn't get absorbed in, so you have a sharper finish. Then we have it is a thinner grammage compared to these ones. Then we have the Photo Rag, which is actually the paper we selected for your test print. It is a Hahnemuhle Photo Rag. It is 100% cotton. So this is actually my preferred paper option. It does have a slight texture to it, and it's an off-white undertone. Then if you'd like something that's coated, we have the Photo Rag Burrita, also Hahnemuhle paper, rich blacks. It also has a bright white undertone. And then we have the Hahnemuhle German etching, which is a very distinct texture. It's also all of these are the Giclée process. This one is quite fragile, so basically as this one's printed, it needs to be framed.
For this image that we are working with, I've selected the Hahnemuhle Photo Rag. I use this a lot for my astrophotography or darker images. Because of the matte texture, it looks really nice for astrophotography when framed. I also use the Burrita quite a lot for my landscapes or my brighter images. Because of the nice whites and the rich blacks, it really pops the contrast in the colors. So I use this a lot for my daytime landscapes, and then Photo Rag for my astrophotography. Okay, so we jumped ahead. We've done the test prints now on our Photo Rag paper, and Sancia is going to talk us through what the test print entails and what information we get from the test print.
So as we saw on the screen, that this was fine to print at A1 size. So a test print entails a small version, normally A5, of the overall image just to give you the overall look and feel color-wise. Then we have a strip, which is a selection of the image at print size, in this case A1, to show us exactly what quality we're getting. Here we can see that we have softer areas, which is fine. We are getting texture in the shipwreck, which is what we want. And we can see the different tones in the sky that we're happy with.
Yeah, so for the test prints, from my point of view, I'm looking at, are my colors correct? Are my shadows, am I getting my information in the shadows? Because a lot of screens, they have HDR and you can see detail in the shadows, and then sometimes when you print it, you lose a lot of that detail and it just looks black. So we're looking in the shadows, are all my details there, all the textures there, which they are, and are my colors correct? Are my highlights protected? And then you're just looking for a little bit of sharpness, a little bit of noise. Do I need to maybe do a little bit of more post-process sharpening on my image? But for this print, looks great at size, and the colors look great on the smaller test print. Now we've done the test prints, we've decided that we are very happy with our image. It is now going off for production and being printed at A1, which takes about 3 days. But the last thing we have to decide on is what frame do we want to use for our image. So there are a lot of framing options, and I myself get quite daunted with framing, and there are a lot of things that you need to consider. But we're going to go through some of the general options, and you can decide what works best for the image that you want to print. So Sancia, tell us a little bit about framing options that we have.
Framing is actually also very exciting part of the whole process. It finishes off your artwork. It gives it just that extra bit of character. There's a few options, but normally we have a ready-made option, which is your standard window mount, and you can have it in white, black, or natural. Then we have a float and raise mounting style. There's various mounting styles and frame profiles. But this is basically an aluminium frame that we floated an image and we've raised it. So that also gives it a nice feel. And And here are just some samples of the types of profiles you get. You get thicker profiles. This is perfect for floating and raising. You get a slightly shallow profile. This is also, you could float and raise your image in a window mount can also be used, or you can frame it straight on. And then we have our yacht frames along with other natural woods that can be used.
Perfect. And what's nice is when you come into Orms Printed Frame Room, they have lots of options on the walls, which we can show you. And it's nice to have a look at other images that are being framed. Gives you a really good idea as what your final image can look like. So for the image that we have done, I have decided to go with the float and raise option, and we're going to jump over now to the final product video and show you what that looks like. So this is the end product. You can see we've done it in a float and raise where it floats off, gets this nice shadow profile behind the image, and we've gone with a black finish and white backing board.
This is also perfect for if you are signing your artworks.
Yeah.
Then you don't have a window mount that competes with the paper tone. So it's better to always float and raise signed artworks.
Yeah, perfect. And I think this came out pretty well at the end. And that's the whole process of going from sending your image to a final framed image ready to hang on your wall. You will have seen there is a 20% discount voucher which you can use on any of the fine arts papers that they have in stock, and that is very generous of them to have given us a 20% discount, and that is valid for 2 weeks. So if you've got any prints you want to do, please use that code. 20% is a big discount and you'll be able to do your prints. So I just want to say thank you to Orms Printroom for allowing us access to their facilities. And I've been printing with Orms Printroom for over 5 years now, and have always had excellent service from them. They are highly trained professional service that they provide. Please also don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. I spend a lot of time making these videos and I hope you find them beneficial. And please drop me an email if there's anything you would like me to make a future video on. Thanks guys.